Okay. Stop sharing. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the October Dover Trails and Recreation Committee meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Let's open it up to public comments.
So I have a question.
Raise your hand, or there you go. Mike Garber.
So the stump jumpers have a bridge on Hathaway Trail that right now is not in the need of repair, but I would imagine in the next year, 2, 3, it might. So I'd like to know again the process of not only how so the process of just repairing it, who pays for it? You know, usually we've paid for it and just done it, but I'd like to know the process. And I'd also like to know the process. Right now, there are wooden telephone poles that make up the base of this bridge. And we're starting to get into using steel beams and getting into more costly bridges because they last a lot longer. So what would be the process of doing that?
So you got to get it through the Trails and Rec process that we set up, similar to what you did the last time that you got funding for the repairs on Hathaway Trail. You present it to this group, and from there, you know, a vote will be taken on whether or not to make a recommendation to the select board to move forward with the project. Depending on the price of the project, you know, it may be decided that it either needs to go out to bid or can be done, you know, by volunteers or whatever it is. But we got to know what it is and how much it costs is the first step.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think just in terms of, you know, the volunteer work and things like that, you know, I think just a little more, like, we want to make it as in-depth as possible, right? Not just a piece of paper that says, I'm going to put a bridge in. Like, it's got to be, here's the materials, here's what we need for machines, you know, time on machines, things like that. You know, it's got to be pretty set as to what those things are if you're asking for the money from the town.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Garber, you good now?
I'm good.
Awesome. Mr. Oakley.
All righty, thank you. So yeah, real quickly. So first of all, this is not a complaint or a shot. It is a constructive observation. Was excited to see that construction started on the parking lot for the Ridge Trail. Now, the last meeting I had brought up that you know, there's some public confusion that SOVTA is kind of in charge of Crosstown because of the work we did in there this summer, and brought up that the Crosstown Trail is kind of a mess. That remains, and you know, still getting a lot of feedback from the general public on that. So I guess my constructive comment is, yeah, I know we were short man hours, obviously with the rain, was very understandable, but you know, possibly we could have worked on that Crosstown Trail that's used all the time right now with the current project surrounding it, you know, other than gone ahead and spent the time and resources on the parking lot, which, you know, we know is down the road. And again, that hurts me to say because that parking lot and the Ridge Trail is near and dear to my heart, but I just an observation that I wanted to point out.
Yep. I know. I appreciate, Sarah, I'll respond and then pass to you if that's okay. Okay. So I appreciate the feedback on that. I will say, you know, the parking lot itself was a fire at a very recent select board meeting. So it's, you know, we do our best to try to take care of things as fast as we can. I will reach out to Travis again on the Crosstown Road and just make sure that that's on the agenda to get taken care of. But you know, we little fires pop up all over the place, right? So we do our best to take care of them. And I think, you know, the parking lot's been in the plan since last year, you know, and it was, we had the castings there for a couple of months. So it was just to get that in. But I, again, will reach out to Travis and make sure that we get some attention paid to that road. Sarah, did you have a comment?
That was just what I was going to say, is that it became quite a hot topic at a select board meeting, and the board took a lot of heat for not having that done. So
Gotcha. I'm sorry, I missed that meeting and that
I think,
fire.
I
Yep.
think having the equipment, the pieces sitting by the side of the road sort of sparked people's desire to see it finished.
Gotcha.
Right.
Very good.
So,
But Tommy, I will reach out to Travis again, and I will do what I can to get something done on Crosstown Road. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other public comments? All right then. Any additions or changes to the agenda tonight? I have none. Perfect. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the September 12th meeting? Sarah makes a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Julia, any discussion? All in favor? Mike shaking his head. Were you not there? Oh, okay. Matt gives me a thumbs up.
so he abstains. He doesn't vote no.
Right. That's not a no. It's an
Michael.
abstention. We can't hear you. That's okay. Tommy hasn't unmuted, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that he's okay with those as well.
Yep, I'm good.
Thanks, Tommy. Okay, next item. What we're going to do tonight is just take a quick look at the trail name suggestions that you guys submitted. And then, barring any huge discussions about them, we will pass that along to the select board as recommendations for those trails. Mike?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I submitted a list of names to you later and not on the correct form, but it seemed to me like we were trying to do a bunch of names that had to deal with sugaring or sugar bush or stuff like that.
Mhm.
And while I think whatever names we come up with, it's still kind of important to apply them appropriately to the nature of the trail you're sticking them on.
Yep,
Like-
that note was taken
Okay, all right,
from
just
your email.
yeah, because if you said you called it collector and the trail doesn't collect people, then or whatever, I think they just because we see them on a map might not be the actual way to identify each trail by whatever names we come up with. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay, I will share. I know that this was I know that this was Shannon, was this a document that everybody could see?
No, people submitted a form and what
Gotcha.
I
Oh, yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
is
Sorry, I'm
everything from
sorry,
it.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm trying really hard to hang in here.
I know, and I appreciate it. Okay. So these are the list of names. Do you want me to read through them, or how do we want to go about it? Can everybody read?
I can send them out with the minutes too.
Yeah. So what I'll do with these, Mike, to your point, is apply them. I have a pretty intimate knowledge of what the trails are and how these things might fit with those trails, and that's what I'll present to the select board. Does that work for you?
For me?
Yeah, I mean, that was a concern you had.
Well, no, I just meant there are. I mean, when we name our trails, we're pretty basic, So, if I have something that's called escalator, it's because people go up and down it all the time.
Gotcha.
Or main line, it's because that's the one you use all the time, right? So I'm just saying whatever names are on the list, some of them will just make sense.
Yep.
And people go, oh, I'm going to take whatever it is we want to call the climbing trail, or or whatever it is. But certain ones, that's all I'm saying is, we could go out and look at them and think, oh, that's appropriate, or that doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
That's all.
No, I got you. Okay. So yeah, Shannon will get this list out to the group. Thank you for everybody that spent, sorry, I do see you. Thank you for everybody that spent time submitting names and putting this together. Sarah, your comment.
I just wanted to, I don't know if everybody's aware of this or not, but that the property was the Earl Farm and the guy's
Gotcha.
name was Horace Earl. That's why
Gotcha.
Earl Farm Road is in there.
Fair enough. Okay. And there's an opportunity to use, more than what's on that map as well, because there will be connector trails in between, the disc golf holes and things too. So I think, there's opportunities there as well. But again, thank you to everybody who took the time to submit stuff.
Rick, can I ask you a question?
Julia, sure.
Sorry, I was kept like waving over here.
Oh,
but
you
I-
weren't, sorry, I'm sharing my, let me,
Yeah, I
stop
couldn't
there.
find my button. Sorry,
Gotcha.
no worries. So what's the next step? It looks like that's just a list of names.
Yeah.
Are we going to do like a ballot, or like how are we gonna make the recommendation to the select board?
My thought was just to kind of divvy them up as I was saying to Mike, to divvy them up as they pertain to the particular trails. And then, I mean, is this something you think we should vote on as a trails committee, or how does the group feel about how we move forward with these names?
Well, aren't there more suggested names than there are trails?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are we gonna choose? Are we first gonna say, okay, well, take all of these away and say, oh, I really like this one best for this this trail and this one best for that trail? How are we deciding the next step?
We were going to present these to the board and see what their thoughts were. Typically, they're involved with not necessarily trail by trail names, but I mean, when it comes to some of these names have to do with naming after the property or someone involved in the community and things like that. And I know the board likes to have input on that as well.
So,
Mike,
oh, I see. So you're going to give the whole list to the select board.
so what I was
Okay.
going to do again is to divide them into, okay, these make sense for an advanced mountain bike trail. These make sense, and then, this makes sense for the road that goes to the middle of the property or the walking loop on the bottom of the property, things like that, and present that list to them that way, and see what their thoughts were. Mike Purcell, you had a question.
Not so much a question, but rather if the trails could be numbered, then all of us could submit what names we thought ought to be for number one, whatever number one is, or number two. If you were trying to come up with names that were appropriate, we could do that, rather than, because we could all say, oh, that one over there, that is all like whatever number one is,
Right. So that's kind of where we were at with like showing, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
That's where we were at with giving you the map, right? Is like, if you look at the top recommendations that were made, the names, like, they weren't necessarily numbered, but it said like, okay, the dark orange line is the advanced bike trail. So this person split those out and said, I think this trail should be named this. Does that make sense?
I did. I'm sorry, because I didn't use that form, so I apologize, because I just noted it or found it again, and it said, if you think you know where it is.
Gotcha.
So it's not clear for me on this list that everybody thought whatever trail number one one person thought Cannonball Run, another one, that's all I was getting at. I apologize.
No, it's okay. So is this a situation then where you would like me to send this back out with numbers on the trails and have these sorted that way? Sarah?
Could I just say, I mean, we could really get in the weeds about this.
Yeah.
And I would just suggest that if anybody has a really strong feeling about a particular trail or a particular name, that they share that with Eric. And then that information will go to the select board. But if we start making surveys and we're going to vote on this, and I think we're going to end up spending 2 months trying to decide on what names we should use. And we've got a select board meeting next week, and this could all be taken care of then. If people just want to weigh in on, here are my top 5 choices, or I think this trail really should be called that. And then all that information can be summarized and Eric can present it to the board. And I think we'll end up with our trail names a lot sooner.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So when Shannon sends this out, by, let's say, Friday of this week, if you have super strong opinions one way or another, take a look at the map that was sent. We can probably even send that again. It tells you what the trails are. It's like advanced bike, medium bike, things like that. Use those and colors as your, okay, I'd like to see this trail named this. Send me those recommendations by Friday. I will probably have this in front of the board for Tuesday. So I would like to have this done by then so I can send that list to them and say, here's what we have. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on that? All right. Perfect.
Wait. Sorry, I can't sit anymore. For everybody wondering why I'm being weird, my sciatic nerve is like exploding. You want me to send the map with the list, but
If you
not,
can, I can give you the map again if you need it, but just attach.
no, I have it, but
Okay.
include the
map
map
and
with
the
the
list.
list
Yep.
for everybody that didn't look at the form.
Correct.
Okay.
For any last minute suggestions as to like, okay, here's the list we have. I'm going to
Okay.
tell Eric, I think this trail should be this.
Okay.
And again, if I don't, I won't remind you, because it's weird again, over and over and over, right? So you have until Friday to give me those recommendations. And I will send that list off to the select board. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Moving right along. So last meeting, we started a conversation about the possibility of an alternative to the Valley Trail A- project. Okay. What are, now that it's warned on the agenda and things like that, what are people's thoughts or feelings or opinions on us exploring the possibility of this this type of project? Mike?
I'm sorry, I understand the concept, but so it's changing from Toll House to around Toll House, or what's it doing? The A-? I'm sorry.
A- was, so A- was supposed to go from the Kirstens. We were supposed to cross the road from at the bottom of Dorfitch from the Valley Trail or the
Right.
sidewalk over to the Kirstens property, over the river, across one Bogle Road, and
Yep.
continue south, and then have another crosswalk back over to what was the retail spaces there at the old appliance store and Dandelion Apothecary.
Yep.
And the buildings there. That idea was eventually voted down by the select board just because of the rising costs of said project, and the fact that we didn't know if we were going to be able to pull additional grant money to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
At the last meetings, Sarah brought up the idea that we take a look at doing the project ourselves, but keeping it on what would be the east side of that bridge, not the west. So instead of crossing the road over to the Kirstens property, then crossing the river, and then crossing again to get back over, just going one crosswalk at the bottom of Dorfitch Road to a bridge on that side of the Route 100 bridge on the east side, closer to Sarah's house. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, when it went across, oh hell, what do we want to call it now? It's been called so many damn things. It's under construction now. The
old appliance building.
The Elsa's or the appliance building, or
Yeah.
or even
Dandel Electric.
Yeah, now it's Dandel Electric.
Right. Dunn's. Dunn's. It goes across Dunn's past the apothecary. Is it going to plan to go past the garage and get to a crosswalk over to Dover Green and stuff? I mean, is that
that was so this discussion that we started the last meeting was literally just about the bridge that gets us over the river. There was no additional planning or conversation surrounding, what happens once we get over that bridge.
I'm just ultimately my thing has always been for A- is to get to get to those structures where people are living and staying.
Yep. Sarah?
So the reason I brought this up was partially because, well, let's go back. The select board voted it down because of the money, but also because the more we looked at where that crosswalk would go, the more concern we had about safety. You're coming out of the blind curve if you're heading north. And if somebody is on Dorfitch Road and they're turning right, they're not looking to the right first because they're going into their same side lane. They're looking left. If somebody steps into that crosswalk, they're going to get creamed. And that was, honestly, that was my reason for not voting for it. The state would not let us, or they would not contribute to construction of a walking bridge on the Dorfitch side of Route 100, as opposed to the Bogle Road side. So if we're not going to ask for state money, one, there's different requirements, so it could actually be cheaper to build than if you have to meet every state standard. And we might be able to finagle putting the bridge on the other side. And then, so then people would walk to the Danda Electric area and be able to cross to Tollgate. Now, where we go from there, I agree with you, Mike, absolutely. Ideally, we would have a trail that goes all the way down to the center of Wilmington. Eventually, right? But for now, let's get chunks of it done at a time. And if we can get a chunk down to Tollgate, then we should investigate. Do we want to try to put a trail right along Route 100 there? Or do we want to maybe, is there a way to go, you know, through the woods to Dover Green and connect to Burchard Road and all of that without going out on Route 100? Because the shoulders over there are not great. So, but my thinking was just have the conversation. If people are generally in favor of it, then we need to start asking, you know, is the state going to restrict us because it is alongside a state road? Are they going to say, absolutely not, you can't do it? And then we have to have a different conversation. Or, well, yeah, but we're not going to help you. And then we have to investigate that.
Okay.
That
was why I brought it up.
Yeah, I think the idea of this conversation was just to get a temperature in the room as to whether or not this is something, I mean, we can absolutely take the time and energy to look into it, but I didn't want to do that if people were not, you know, amenable to the idea. And, you know, that's what this conversation is. Tommy.
I would just say that I think it's absolutely worth looking into. You know, it's a great idea. It's a great project. Have a lot of value for the community, for visitors. So,
Did we lose Tommy? Tommy, I think we lost you.
okay, am I back now? Apologies.
There you go. Nope.
Yep. Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, why not? Gives us something to do and talk about once a month. So let's go for it.
I was sitting up there waiting for somebody to tell me. Julia.
I agree with Tommy. I think that I walk that trail a lot, and the idea of getting to the folks at Dover Green so that they don't have to, you know, risk their lives on Route 100. Cycling, same thing. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Mike or Matt, did you want to weigh in? Matt, there you go. Matt, did you have a comment?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I think it would be a great start to on a trail to Wilmington, which would, I think everyone agrees that would be a pretty good end goal for this trail to get all the way into town. So I think we should look into it more.
All right, Mike, did you have any comments or?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, right now we have a bridge that doesn't reach the end. If you catch my drift.
Okay. All right.
So it'd be nice to have an abutment that went down there where people could get on in all those places. And it, you know, as far as value goes, it goes, you know, real estate boy would say every place that's connected to that trail was worth more money than the ones that aren't.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so I think the general consensus from the group is that this is something worth looking into. I think from here we do a little research as to, you know, I know that the who owns the Danda property there would need to figure out what's going on with the property on the other on the town office side of that river. Sarah, you don't happen to know off the top of your head who owns that, do you? Is that part of his property at Danda or?
Danda goes into the river a little bit.
Okay,
A part of
part
it
of
is my
Sheepy Manor?
property, but I think mine's on the, I don't think mine would come into play there.
gotcha.
I think part of it might be owned by, actually might be part of the parcel on Bogle Road.
Oh,
Um,
okay,
but where the bridge would end on the others, heading south, that would be on Danda.
okay.
That would be Danda's property.
So you think the north side of that then might be a part, because I know they own, or they at least at one point owned the field, correct?
The Greenwalds own the field.
Yeah, okay. They
Mm.
still,
That's not owned by the same people who own the Bogle. It's
right,
been
one Bogle
Greenwalds
Road
have
is
been
currently
divided
owned by
up.
the, is
So
Levesque.
right, but my understanding was that the Bogle Road property actually extended past the bridge
Gotcha,
a little tiny bit.
gotcha, okay. That makes sense. So what I'm gonna do then is I'll start looking into those property pieces, and I will also have a conversation at the state level, I guess, and just see if this is even something that would be possible for us to do on our own, because they very well may poo-poo our idea before we even get too far into the work. So those are the steps that I'll take. Mike?
Yeah, I would suggest you get a hold of the AOT maps, because I don't think you can find one of that area in Dover. That whole section from the center of town to Dover Green and all the AOT stuff is just tougher to get a hold of and take a look at unless you request it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sure that's information I think that could be provided to me by our contact we were working with on the A- project. I'm sure he'd be happy to share that with me because they have all of that information. Okay. Tommy, did you still have a question or was your hand just still up? Going once, going twice. Okay, is everybody happy with that path forward on that discussion? Okay. Other than that, that is our meeting. Quick and easy. I was saying to Sarah, last time you did this,
Motion to
Sarah.
adjourn.
Oh, okay. Before we adjourn,
Okay,
Garber, did you just raise your hand?
Yes, I did. I'll save my question till the end, or I can say it now.
What does it pertain to?
Horace Hill.
Okay. I'll answer that. We don't have anything on the agenda for that, so if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it for you after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Our next meeting will be for November 14th. If you have any agenda items or things you'd like to talk about at that meeting, please let me know at least a week in advance so that we can get the agenda taken care of. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Sarah makes a motion. Second, Mike. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next month. All right. I'm gonna